So there are a lot of brands out there that try to rip off Lego that will produce bricks and sets that look completely identical to sets that Lego has produced in their past, or even taking the mocks and creations of other builders and trying to pass them off as their own. And I have thoughts about those, but that's not what today's video is about. Rather, today we're going to be taking a look at a brand that does produce Lego bricks, but builds their own things out of them, which I at least can respect. I will say further that I've bought a couple of items from this brand, although it can be fairly difficult to source them since I live in the United States. And in terms of the quality of the pieces, they're quite good. They have a handful of pieces where I think they have some quality issues, whether it is color or just the pieces maybe perhaps breaking or not fitting properly. But you could make the same argument with Lego as well. So I guess I can't go too much further into that. So without further ado, the whole purpose of this video was actually sparked by these pieces right here, which actually arrived yesterday in the mail. These are a bootleg from a brand called Enlighten brick, which I've had plenty of experience with in the past. I believe today they now go as Qman or I don't know how it's pronounced by any means, but it's an interesting brand nonetheless. I actually produced a short specifically about the character that these pieces came on. Unfortunately, he was missing his mask, which would have been lovely. It was a brown Krill, which is one of my favorite masks, so to have gotten that in a new color would have been cool, but I'm not going to complain. It was basically free, and again, for silver Metro shoulder pads, I'll take it. So one thing I really like about Enlighten as a brand is their quality, right? In terms of prints, for example, in terms of matching colors from Lego, not every color that they produce is an exact match, but many of the colors that they do well, they do really well. And one example of that is the flat silver on this minifigure here. This is actually an Enlighten brick minifigure, and it looks quite nice. It is done really well, and this silver on this figure, including the torso underneath there, is actually a pretty indistinguishable match from Lego's modern flat silver. And I say modern because Lego's current flat silver is a bit of a bluer tone than flat silvers from the past, and so it is a color that has changed over time. If we look at the character from the front here as well, we can see that there's some really excellent printing on there. Hopefully my camera can show that, and it looks quite nice, and they even went out of their way underneath that armor to apply printing on the character themselves. And this is true across the board, so you can get some really unique characters out of it. Don't know who this is supposed to be, why they have pale skin, but I think it works out rather well. And with this one here, you can see yet another character that we got, this time with purple skin. The cape material is also quite nice, although it's more similar to capes from Lego's past than it is to modern Lego capes, which are a lot more soft. They feel higher quality than these now currently do. This has more of that papery feel that you guys might have been used to in the early to mid 2000s and prior. So let's go ahead and get into what I found on the computer for you guys, and I will of course link this in the description so you guys can check it out as well. This set right here, you guys may have shown me, or you may have seen me showing a handful of pieces from this set specifically, because I actually own 2 copies of this. I was able to buy it thankfully a handful of years ago for $10 a piece, which at the time was honestly a steal. It was over 200 pieces, had a really neat function, but clearly I bought it for these lime green air katanas, which are a perfect match to Legos as well. Each set also included one lime green Borak tooth, which, cool. I'm not going to complain about getting a recolor for the Borak tooth as well, but very clearly this was for the air katanas, my personal favorite bionicle weapon of all time. Some other interesting pieces in this set, though, include some shield, nothing fancy. The helmet and the armor, I believe, are both custom pieces, as well as this sword, so I don't think Lego produces anything quite like them. I will say that the hole on the top of that helmet, though, does not fit an accessory. It's too small for an accessory, or no, maybe too big for an accessory, too small for a bar. Anyway, so it's a proprietary connection, but they do at least give you a little feather for the top of your character if you want. So you can attach one if you want to. But yeah, the other interesting thing about this set specifically is it also comes with two length bar pieces, rod pieces, which Lego does not currently make. And there's no stopper in the middle. They're just 2 length, and they're great. I love them. I use them so often. I have it on my Chibi Tahu build on the foot here. They're so good. All right, so moving on to the next one, though, you can see this one, another really desirable one as well. Lots and lots of purple pieces. They don't match Lego's purple, but they're not that far off. I would say they're definitely respectable in their own color, and they're very aesthetically pleasing as well. Lego's also not very good at matching its own purple, so again, I can't say too much to knock it for that. That said, it comes with these pearl gold Onua claws. They're not a perfect match for Legos. They're a little bit too translucent. In fact, all of the gold pieces on this are a little too translucent, but that seems to be a problem that I've experienced with basically every off-brand or near to it. So many of them just can't quite replicate Lego's pearl gold with any air of success, right? But there are some Nuva legs as well as Borak limbs in here in that purple color. So if you want to build your own recolored Onua Nuva, you can. All of the pieces are here. There are a handful of Technic pieces in here as well in purple. Again, not quite matching Legos, but I'm not going to complain too much, including these toe ball pieces, which have the pin connection on the base. And yeah, pretty good. The character here, which you saw with the cape right here, is also quite a nice one. Those purple pieces on the side, same thing. They are kind of a proprietary connection. They're not the easiest to keep in, unfortunately. So they do fall out. They do get lost very easily. I still have them somewhere. Don't know where right now, though. Moving on to the next one, I do not own any of these sets, and these are kind of interesting. There's not a whole lot about this one here that's super notable, other than you can see kind of the same sort of figures in here, as well as the bald-headed character, which I also have one of these. Not this one specifically, but just one that looks like a little tavern owner or something. It's a cool figure. I like it. The bald head thing is a little weird, but yeah, it's a neat piece at the very least, and different from how Lego handles it. With that said, though, still an interesting build nonetheless. I don't know what's going on with the pins in this set because they look a little different, but hey, you know, interesting stuff happens, right? Looks like this is a catapult as well, but let's go ahead and move on. Not too much interesting on this one, so let's not waste time. This set I actually really like the aesthetic of. I don't own this one either, and I am in love with the tiger build here because that looks super cool. It's obviously a little more like stylized than Lego. It's got like this really aggressive, sharp, angular face, which I think looks really cool for a fantasy setting. The gold drill here, I think Lego makes that in gold, but I'm not positive. Outside of that, though, you get a handful of weapons just kind of spattered throughout this entire build here. More armor, in this case unprinted, which is always nice. And just the build in general is really nice. Like, it's very aesthetically pleasing. I quite like what they were able to do with this, and I think it's like 300 pieces. So the fact they were able to do this much, honestly, feels... I don't know. It's really good. I like this one quite a lot. It's a very nice set. And that horned Viking helmet here, and that beard for that matter, both look very nice. I think those are the same exact pieces, the same exact beard pieces as well. And I'm not positive, but I can't imagine that is two pieces connected together, like it's a dual mold or anything. They're probably two separate pieces. Moving on to a completely different lineup here for a second. Nothing terribly interesting here other than the minifigure. I think that the shirt is pretty cool, and the ripped jeans for that matter are definitely nice. I can't imagine that there's much else in this set that's all that desirable. I think the alien head is also kind of neat, but we're just going to move on from this one. Next up, this one I found interesting, because it does include some Mata arm pieces. They look a little different, but I'm not positive if that's just me or just the render of this as well. I can also see here that this axle is rotated. I don't think that's supposed to be the case, because I don't know how it would be rotated in the first place. This brick looks to be aligned with that arm, so I don't know what's going on there, but definitely weird. I don't even know what to say. You get another one of those aliens here, as well as a human figure. I think it's an interesting looking set overall. Feels very in line with Lego from like 2009 and 10. Moving on to the next one, we got another small set, but I do like it. I really like what they were able to do with this roof here, although I would have kind of backfilled it, but I guess you could see that as being like a window under this. I don't know. With that out of the way, though, the whip pieces, lots of pieces in this set too, lots of weapons. They're very generous with their weapons, with their armor, just everything, kind of filling out these sets, and it looks very good. Plus that bow mold looks absolutely incredible, to be honest. And of course, you can't ignore the, I don't know if that's a panther type animal or what it is, again stylized, or maybe it's a wolf that's black or something. It's hard to say. I think this head can work both for wolves or for cats, so I think it works either way. But with that green kind of like, I don't know, that printing is absolutely gorgeous. I really love it. And again, their print quality is really good as well. If I could source this set, I would absolutely get it just for that. You get the bow, you get a really nice looking 2x2 round plate here, which could very easily be turned into a shield. So yeah, I just look at the sheer amount of weapons here alone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess you could count the whip thing as a 7. Arrows, 8, 9, 10. What's that? 11, 10 or 11 different weapons. That's really good for a set of this size, right? Moving on, we've got a vehicle, this time kind of using a similar strategy to what Lego has done in the past to rotate these saw blades with wheels on the ground, which is really cool and smart, right? There's not a lot here that's super notable. The red gear is kind of cool. You know, the gold saw blades, I don't think Lego made these in gold, so that would be neat to have. Again, assuming they probably don't match Lego's pearl gold, but some of their pieces do a little bit better, usually the hard plastic. Outside of that, I can't tell what color this rim is on the back or the disc in front of it. If it's orange, if it's dark orange, if it's its own thing, but it looks really cool. And you get another one of those helmets here. And let's not overlook yet again, another one of those white tigers, which is really excellent. Moving on to this one here. This is actually to follow up this, my bad, another of the Black Panther build in this one here. So great. Always love to see it, right? Feels a little more out of place in this one, but I'm not going to complain about it too much. Again, very hard to source these actual sets, unfortunately, but the quality is honestly superb. I will say that the ball joints on these, I forgot to mention, do not line up with Legos. Like, they don't match the size, but other ball joints on other pieces do, at least from my experience. I have the Dragon set. It uses these ball joints. They're like a medium size. They're smaller than typical ball joints, bigger than toe ball joints. So I don't know. It's weird. Interestingly, it says 2-in-1, but I can't tell if that's a 2-in-1 transformation or a rebuild from the ground up. But there are several things on here that look to be shared between the two models. If that's a transformation, that's honestly really well done, in my opinion. It can be really hard to get full transformations from mechs into vehicles that look good, that look consistent. And I think they did a really good job here, if that's what this is. If there's a rebuild or a slight move around of parts from here to there, it's still really impressive either way, but obviously less so in that case. And moving on to the last one we're going to take a look at here. This one, well, no, I think we got one more after this, my bad. But this one's a little weird. First of all, I understand that it's kind of goofy. I couldn't pull up any better resolution images of it. But it has some silver Onua claws. I, again, assume those be flat silver. There's really nothing to pay attention to in this set except for these wing fabric pieces in this gold. I think I've seen these before, and they're really nice too. And as far as I'm aware, they're actually fabric and not like plastic or nylon, something like that. So honestly, those look really, really cool. I've also seen another one of these that had purple flames. It wasn't a dragon, but it had purple flame pieces in a couple of different sets, but I wasn't able to pull any of those up today. The last one we're going to take a look at is this one here. And it's a little hard to tell because, again, the quality on this one's not so good, but there are purple Borak teeth in here. And again, I would love to have my hands on some of those. You know, the white, sure, whatever. I'm not going to complain about getting extras of those. I have about 1 billion, but honestly, the aesthetic of this ship is really nice. I like the sort of stepped sort of design here. It's the simplest option, right? Rather than trying to curve these upward, but it looks good. It looks stylistic. And then, of course, what's going on underneath the windows here with these little spikes coming down, yeah, it's tremendous. It really looks quite nice. I absolutely love the aesthetic of this ship for what it is. If this came from Lego, would I knock it for certain reasons? I think so. There's definitely things that could be done better. But as a bootleg, this is really strong in my opinion. And, you know, white gear that can be flipped with a lever, I guess. I'm not exactly sure how that works. We've gotten white gears like this from Lego in the past, so nothing terribly fancy there. I don't know what this is on the ground here either. But yeah, so honestly, that's pretty much it. I do apologize if I sound a little stuffy in this video. I've been feeling a little bit under the weather today, but that's just how it is sometimes. Gotta muscle through it. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. I know this is a bit of a strange one, but I wanted to go ahead and take you through it, take you through some of the things that I've seen. And again, links for the pictures for these will be in the description. I've not found sources to buy any of these, especially not in the US. But maybe you can, I don't know. But outside of that, you can also find my Discord and Instagram and Patreon linked in the description. If you want any perks, you can check that out. And of course, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.